at Reichman University and a former colonel in the Israel Defence Forces. Thank you very much for joining us here on BBC News. Let me begin by asking you what you make of this deal.
It's kind of what I would say bittersweet, meaning we have to have a deal. On October 7th, when Hamas came into Israel, attacked and just took people, children, babies, I need to see these babies. I need to see them back. When I say bittersweet, we're not talking about more in this deal than 10, 20, 30, 40 people, 10 a day. And until we see them, we don't actually know who is kidnapped. So think right now, if you're the parent or the daughter or the brother of somebody who was taken, a 9-month baby, an 87-year-old parent, and you don't know who's going to be coming in. And we're not going to know until Hamas, the terror organization, tell us. They haven't told us until now who they hold. We still don't know that. They're holding that, and tomorrow they're going to use the exchange as a photo op for them. And that's very disturbing. As I said, very bittersweet.
How long do you think this deal will hold?
As long as Hamas, in that sense, don't take advantage of it to use it in the way that they've been doing for so many weeks. As I was listening to the description of Tamara sitting in Jordan, but UNRWA, that is in all of the different UNRWA, different areas, that harsh reality, I mean, she didn't say it, and I understand that, but it's kind of like, I didn't hear the word Hamas. Let's put it very clearly, Hamas could stop this right now. They could stop this, and they're not. They took the hostages. They're using them as a card in that sense. So when I look at the exchange itself, I can't wait until we see who the first 10 are tomorrow. But what a horrible situation. 10 families will hopefully be happier. But what about the other 230 in all of the state of Israel? So it should take place in that sense, 10 at a time. I do believe that the two sides have an interest to try to get to that 40 or 50 of the women and children just to start something. We haven't heard anything from them. They've never said who's held by them. They've never shown pictures. They're a terror organization. They're using them. So that I do hope it'll go through. I don't believe Hamas, the terror organization. That's part of the challenge.
Can I ask you, with your experience as a colonel in the IDF, how these prisoner exchanges and hostage exchanges work in a practical sense? So what might we expect to see tomorrow, and who will be involved in the handover of hostages and indeed Palestinian prisoners who've been held?
So in that sense, when we're talking about it, what they have said, Hamas, as much as they said, is that it's women and children. We don't know who they are. The contact point, at least in the exchanges that took place, they let out until now 4 women out of the many hostages, is that they'll be handed over in the Gaza Strip somewhere, I would say in the center, in the south, to probably the International Red Cross, which don't usually do things like this. And with the Hamas captors, they will be brought to the Egyptian border. I imagine that Egypt and Qatar are the facilitators. So I imagine Egyptians, Qataris, International Red Cross, and a very Hamas orchestrated photo op. Because they're going to show that. You understand that what that means in the psychological warfare is they're going to put out photographs of who's being released into Israel before we know who they are. Families have not been informed. From there, they'll be transferred by vehicle onto Egyptian soil. That's up to the Egyptians where, and from Egypt taken to the Israeli-Egyptian border into Israel. Once they're in Israel, they'll be identified by Israelis. The first thing is that doctors will see them. We have no idea how they are. They've been probably in tunnels for 7 weeks. They probably have not seen air. We don't know what situation they were in. We don't know if they're going to let out the ones who are in terror. We don't know anything. So it's going to be, first of all, that health aspect, and then talking to them to understand the psychological aspect. And after that, it's to be going to hospitals in very secluded areas to be taken care of, to understand that. And all of this before they actually meet their family. In the pictures tomorrow, that they have a 9-month baby. I should already say a 10.5-month baby. What do you do with a baby? What do you do with a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old whose parents were murdered in front of them? They were taken into the Gaza Strip, and now they're going to come back in. What do you say to them at all? And these are all big questions about what's going to happen tomorrow. very bittersweet. My heart goes to the families who are going to find out tomorrow by the Hamas in the worst way who's both coming and who's not yet coming.
Miri, let me ask you about the Israeli military operation, which will be also then, as a result of this deal, paused for 4 days. What do you think the IDF strategy will be, and how will they use this pause perhaps to find out more intelligence, particularly on where Hamas might be?
Well, we're already in the northern Gaza Strip. And again, as Tamara said before, there's still over 100,000. They know details more than we would about civilians who stayed in the north of the Gaza Strip, because Israel, most of the ones who went south didn't go at the beginning when we told them. It's been a very long process in that sense, because we have been very clear, go south to save lives. It's a war. It doesn't make it easier with all of the hardships that you described. The Israeli military are going to be looking both at civilians in and around the northern area that we are deployed in as we've closed in that area. And in addition, we're going to continuing to be looking at all of the other arenas, but this time it'll be mainly by observation points, soldiers on the ground. We're going to be looking to make sure that Hamas, a terror organization that doesn't play by any rules of any law in any way, don't take advantage of this in the booby traps and trying to do the different type of things that they've done before. You want to make sure that you're not enabling them so that after 4 days of pause, they can show some kind of what they're going to call military victory. So it's going to be very tense. We, as a military, you don't like being static. And in this case, we're going to be static, but that means that you're going to be on alert, looking at what's going on around you, gathering information for the next stage.